So what I did
In
is
short for propeller.
yes. So what I did is I flew really high, which gives you
Sure.
time to sort out problems if something goes wrong. And I
Yep.
practiced an acro move, like an aerobatics move. And
Sure.
you know
So
that
you kind of
scene
like
where you
you
drop
kind of
it?
learned to do a somersault in the sky.
Yeah, yeah. But this
Okay.
particular one involves like spiraling down. So the wing is flat, but it's turning.
Hmm.
And I've done it without a motor a bunch of times, with a motor a couple of times, but I just sort of upgraded wings to something more advanced and it spins faster. And to my surprise, the wing spun fast and the pilot didn't. So imagine being on a swing set, but the whole contraption swings and the swinger himself doesn't keep up. And like I
Hmm.
said in the video, I'm calling them risers, but you could call them the swing set chains.
Hmm.
Um, the first half twist is pretty resistant, like you can keep up. But then once it gets fully twisted, well, the other twists come easily. And when that happened, it started pulling in the wing, and then I get in what's called a nose down spiral. So I'm just like, I don't know how to demo it, but I'm facing down. It's the fastest you can go down, and it's spinning, and it's a big problem, and it's pulling a lot of G's. People die from this. One of the bigger killers. Someone just died from it a few days ago. And she was a professional pilot. Like, she didn't just suck, but she blacked out and stayed in that nose down spiral all the way to the ground. And a reserve is a parachute. So I took my reserve parachute and I threw it. But because I'm spinning around like that, it got caught up in the wing or the lines
So
connected
the
to the
goal is to
wing.
throw it, then it like what deploys and pulls you out or something like this.
Exactly. You throw
Okay.
it, the
Because you're
parachute
trying to
kind of
get what are you trying to
catches.
get out from under your why is it a throw as opposed to something else?
So it's attached to your
He's
hip.
deploying it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
attached to your side. It's there all the time in case something bad happens. And you pull it off and you toss it far. And then when it gets to the end of the line, it's called a diaper, but the bag that it's held in goes away and it catches air and inflates. So
Okay.
it's a little wad of fabric at first, but as soon as some air gets into it, it's folded in a particular way to make it catch air and
Sure.
expand.
He's heading toward the ground at about 50 miles per hour, and he's trying to slow that down so he doesn't die.
Yeah. No, I'm familiar with the general idea of
Yeah,
parachutes.
I'm going.
Yeah.
I actually have some telemetry on my phone. I was going down at 3,300 feet per minute. I don't know. I didn't do the calculation on that, but too fast. 3,300 feet per minute. So,
And this is similar to Kyle. This is like your parole. You have to do this.
Wait, what?
Wait, what?
I'm just trying to understand. This was entirely voluntary.
38
Yeah,
miles per hour.
30
Okay.
miles per hour. All right, too hard.
38.
38. So it's too fast to hit.
It's survivable if you're lucky, but it's easily fatal.
Yeah, I think that's about right. And
think
the first reserve got tangled in the wing because it's spinning around, and we've got this big problem. And then the second reserve I
You
threw.
cut it, or is it like how does it not then tangle?
There
you
wasn't a lot of time. I spent a lot of time trying to sort the wing out, trying to get the wing to fly again. I said there were 7 twists in there. I got them all out but one. I don't know why, but the last twist was just so locked in there. I think it has to do with the G's pulling it apart. It wouldn't let go. And so that last twist, I couldn't undo it. Through my reserve, got stuck in the wing and the lines leading to it. Through my second reserve, and it worked. You're supposed to do a PLF. So when you fall, you kind of fall like feet, knees, hip, shoulder, and distribute that across your body. But I was going so straight down that I felt like I couldn't make that work. And I kind of just went feet, and then you'd call it butt, but I'm wearing the paramotor, so it hit the cage and it's a little bent up. So I might bend it back and I replace it.
So what did Jackie have to say about all this?
Yeah, you show her that video.
We've been feeding in the details
Yeah,
over
slowly
time.
over
Been
Chili.
trickling information.
Yes.
Like
at first,
just like, hey, I bent the frame a little.
yeah. At
Rough
first,
day
it was
out
like
there.
so. In the field, farmers came by and they were expecting to find a body, and they were like, "You were coming down fast," and I'm like, "It wasn't that fast," because I'm thinking about the last 100 feet when the reserve worked, but they're thinking about the rest of the descent. And they took me to the road, and I was going to have Jackie pick me up at the side of the road. But then they offered to drive me all the way home. And They almost
That seemed better
insisted.
than
They were
waking
really
the
nice.
wife. Yeah.
Well, she was up. I mean, it was like 7 p.m. But
Yeah.
so
I
yeah,
meant not really waking her. I meant but anyways.
she's picked me up a couple of times before, but it's usually motor problems. Like, hey, honey, I landed in a farm. Like I got it going, but I don't trust it. I want to really look it over in the garage. Can you grab the truck and drive me home? There've been a couple of those. Hey, it started raining.
Sure.
So when I asked her for a pickup, it wasn't immediately like, man, I threw my reserve, it didn't work. I threw my other reserve, and thank God. Like, that's not how we.
The text message I got was, I almost died today. I bet that's not the message Jackie got.
No, the message she got was a lot.
Hey, Jackie, you know that life insurance policy? It
Little
almost just paid off.
A little rougher than normal. Wouldn't mind a ride back if you're not busy.
So we got the ride back, and I'm like, I think she might have known I threw the reserve when I got home, but like, I don't think she realized
the brown stains in the back of your pants.
It just kind of like I sort of trickled in just like how bad it was and how close it was, and that it's a weird feeling like that night, right? So I'm at home, everything's settled in, all my gear's in the garage, and like I'm okay. And in my head, I'm like, it's just normal. Like all my friends have processed it, said, "Oh, I'm glad you're okay," and now they're living their lives. It's trash night. How am I supposed to process trash night right now? Like, I just do it. Like, okay, I guess. Like, to me, a really monumental thing happened last night. And to everyone else in the world, it's just a footnote. And I have a friend who's thrown a reserve twice, but 2 different flights, not one in one flight like me. And I've been on the other side of this, and it's just like, yeah, Johnson's good at throwing reserves. That's, he got a knack for it, I guess. Like, it's not that I don't care. I care a lot. But it my life wasn't diverted like his was. He had a near-death experience, and now I'm on the other foot, the other shoe.
I'm glad you made it. Can you imagine? It would just be me and Filthy.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, awkward.
Sexual tension would be extreme.
Our shirts would be
it's
off
on video.
half an hour in.
We wouldn't be able to record and release it. Absolutely not.
It'd be copyright or flag.
This would be a whole different kind of show. Like we'd honestly just have to go play some Eve or something like that. At some point. Like, we'd run out of stuff to talk about.
Tonight's PKA will be found on RedTube.
I'd get out the hooks, the treble hooks, and I'd be suspended in here. Like
I'd be like, you're just like a spaceship.
I'd be like a model airplane hanging from a 13-year-old's fucking ceiling in here. Just, you were right. It's so amazing.
I packed my own reserves. They're right back there. Like, I haven't packed them yet. I have I don't know. Like all day long, I talked to a very experienced paraglider guy. He actually had a serious injury, and he's like, you're in that like post-adrenaline kind of processing stage, and it's like, he knows. Like, he gets it. He's probably been there half a dozen times, and yeah, that's where I am. Like, I'm not fearful. I was fearful once when a friend got hurt. Like, I kind of want a rematch. That's what happens when I got it. When I broke my leg. For 8 weeks, I did rehab and dreaming of a rematch. I want to get back there. I want similar conditions. I want the new me to try it. But when my friend got hurt, like that really spooked me in a way that it doesn't happen personally. I don't know. I can't. I'm sort of getting my arms around.
Pretty close call you had there,
dude. I had my radio on, and while I'm spinning 38 miles an hour headed to the ground, like, I don't make it up, 6Gs, something like that. What's playing in my headset is that Bonnie Tyler, that I need a hero. I need a hero to the end of the night.
Is it literally playing?
Yes. Yeah. No, that's the song that's going on in my. When I picked up Colin today, the song was only 2/3 through. Like, I was like, I will forever associate that song with that event. Yeah.
He's gotta be strong, and he's gotta be fit, and he's gotta be larger than life.
And like, so I have a helmet on, and it's midway through, so it kind of got like tipped forward. and my vision's a little obscured. I can like see the shit in my lap I need to sort out, and that song is blasting. And it was like literally encouraging to keep going. Like there are lots of people who give up in this scenario. And like the coaches
if you'd had some Johnny Cash on, I woke up Sunday morning with no way to hold my head, but it didn't hurt. You'd be like, well, let's let it go. Just let it go.
Yeah, that's that song and that event are forever linked for me. That I Need a Hero is the time I almost died.
Oh, that's good, man. I'm glad you lived. I'm glad you lived.
Me too. Well, thanks.
I hope Taylor's okay. I hope everything's okay with him. You know, haven't heard from him in a while. We're a couple hours in now.
I think a family emergency generally is less immediately life threatening than that most of the time.
I mean, highways or die ways, man. You know, he had to drive.
Yeah, and I guess he is moving faster than 38 miles per hour. I guess I wasn't thinking about, granted he's not headed directly at the center of the earth.
That is true. That is true. Yeah. I got your message and I was like, God damn it, that is a ridiculous hobby he's chosen. Ridiculous. My dad and I have this conversation all the time because my dad was wanting to get into paramotors 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like 20 years ago, we played poker with this guy who was into paramotors, and he was like, "Yeah, I got this one for 10,000 and this one for 15." You know, like the 15 was a trike, I think maybe, and we were interested in the trike because we saw it as an aircraft. Essentially, it's like why would I want to run when I could ride? And we were so close to getting one of those trikes and just have we got the land to land it and stuff like you do, and we never did. So I tell him about it. And I'm like, yeah, he's got the backpack fan deal, and I told him about you breaking your ankle and everything like that, and he's always asking, does his ankle heal up okay? Sometimes you get hurt like that and you never heal up right. And I was like, I think he had a good surgeon. I think they fixed him up. He's like, that's dangerous, man, with a family like that, that's dangerous. And I'm like, I don't.
He's not wrong. I
was like, Dad, weren't you driving race cars when I was 4? Well, yeah.
Yeah, it's weird, that stuff. My dad did dirt bikes for a while when I was again he got back into motorcycles again as I was in high school or something, and then when I was out in college he got into dirt bikes again. He's probably in his early 50s, late 40s around then, right? And so he was living in West Virginia then, and had a dirt bike and brought it up some hill and dropped it on his ankle and broke his ankle out by himself entirely in the middle of fucking nowhere on that, and hiked it back, walked it back to his trailer, put it on the trailer, drove himself to the hospital, and then had a number of surgeries on his ankle from that. He was like, I just didn't look down, didn't take off the boot, was his thing for that. But like that mentality of like, these are hobbies. These are like essentially things you're doing for fun. And at the same time, they're extraordinarily dangerous in some level.
I like the post-accident mentality, or like I compare it almost to my like on the way down, like, all right, we got a problem, but we got shit to do right now. Like I'm in the middle of nowhere. I got to solve a thing right now. And
yeah, your mindset changes instantly. Like you're just like, all right, well, we're in this mode now. There's nothing for it. There's only plan A. There's no B, C, or D. There's one route out of this, and it's time to fucking move forward. Like we're essentially animals. Like we know what to do.
In my case, I went to see. Like plan A was to fix the wing, was to fly out of this thing, to get it untwisted. And I tried that plan. Okay, yeah, I follow now. I followed that plan. If I started at 3,300 feet, I followed that plan to about 1,000. And then it was like, well, it's not making any progress and it's time to throw the reserve. And when that reserve didn't work, you can pull on the lines that go to the reserve. And sometimes that'll help it like catch air. And just if it just catches a little, it usually will catch a lot. And I tried that plan briefly, call it 5 seconds. And I'm like, I'm going to reserve number 2. And then that plan worked. So, like, dude, maybe 1% of pilots carry 2 reserves. Like, it's not a normal thing.
You going up to 3 after this?
I'm thinking about it.
That's what I said. That was my text message. Like, maybe a 3rd is in order.
I've never even heard of 3 on a paramotor.
Just
it's
one
funny
down
though,
by
the
your
stress
ankle.
responses. Like my wife's stress response and my stress response are so different. Like she gets upset with me with my stress response. My stress response is essentially like truncate. Like anything that's not important, get fucking rid of it. We don't care. There's not time for civility about this. There's not time for worrying about whose feelings we're hurting. Like, and like when it becomes like this is realistically something can get hurt or something like this, it's just like fucking truncate, like clear that shit off the table, because just focus on what's here and now and then. She's totally different. She shuts down a lot more than I do for that. And I really wonder like how much of that is genetic or where it comes from for that. But it's interesting because you're sitting there in that moment being like, okay, like training clearly helped there. Like that's certainly something that made sense, right? And it's like, here's what I'm going to do. Here's what I'm going to focus on. But as you say, like people give up in that. Like different people in different scenarios die from that same thing. And not because of a difference in training or skill, but a difference between how they physiologically or psychologically react to that scenario, which is so interesting.
Training and one area where I'm lucky in like paramotoring and paragliding. I have a YouTube channel, and because of that, I walked into paramotoring as one of the most famous paramotorists around. It's not a big sport. If you want to be at the top of your field, choose a small field. That's the secret. Sure. But because I had 1 million subs before I started, like it made it a lot of people who were like legends in this sport would give me time of day when maybe otherwise they wouldn't had. And I just have a lot of good mentors who've talked to me about this, and some of their voices were ringing in my head, you know, like there's one guy, Chris Santacroce is his name, and he encourages people, throw that reserve. Today's a great day. You're going to see what the other part of your equipment looks like. Now, reserves are a problem. People land, they break legs, they find themselves in the middle of a field with bones sticking out of their skin. Like it's usually not the end of your problem. It's just a different problem. And, so but I don't know. I had mentors in my head, and he was saying a lot of people spiral to the ground. We don't know why. We don't know what they were thinking because they're dead. But their story ends with that, and it made me think like, no, mine can't.
So what do you? I got a text message from you last night. I believe it was last night, and it said something like, "Almost died today." Guess it's a good thing I have a second parachute.
Your reply was the greatest. I was like, almost died tonight. It's a good thing I carried 2 parachutes. And Kyle goes, yeah, it's a good thing you didn't. That, who died?
Oh yeah, the King of Random.
Yeah, the King of Random would have stolen your thunder. He has 11 million subs.
Like, yeah, if you had died last night, nobody would.
No one would care. No,
it would have been nothing. It would even it'd have been a blip. He's like, the King of Random, 11 million subscribers died today in a paramotor incident. Also, it's sunny in Southern California. Yeah. In other news, Don, how's it going down there on the street? Oh, wonderful. You should skip right over you. You'd have been a footnote. But when you die, you need to die all alone.
I like the way you're thinking. Yes. What I did is that I almost died. I hit the ground, and within like 60 seconds, I was vlogging about it. And I put it on so we could watch it together. I'm the only one who's seen this.
Okay.
It's 4 minutes long, but I think it's kind of interesting.
I'll watch it. I want to see your post almost.
Yeah, if you could try to turn the camera on a little earlier next time too.
I had it on for the crash, but the battery died. I have like the first 20 seconds of the
clearly
run.
Extra weight, extra parachute, necessary missing weight, extra battery.
I'd rather see you die than keep you alive. Come on, we need that battery.
Are you guys ready for this?
I'm ready.
Let's do it. All right, ready, set, play.
Oh my God. So this just happened like 1 minute ago. I thought I'd record while the feeling was fresh. I am 100% okay. It wasn't even that hard a landing. But I was trying a helico, something I've tried about, I don't know, maybe 75 times before.
A risky acro move.
And the reason I thought it'd be okay on a motor is like, even if I have a bad helico, it seems to go okay. I find tail slide and it's all cool.
A safe exit.
But I don't know, maybe it's the extra inertia on the motor, but I didn't keep up with the spin of the heli. So I found myself in a riser twist. Now I've had like a half riser twist, I don't know, 15 times, like 10 times. It's not that big of a deal. But if you imagine yourself on a swing, like a playground swing, and like the first half twist is really hard to accomplish. Then after that, twirl, 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 easy. And that's kind of what happened. And it was like spiraling, and the twist was getting worse. But I was way up high, like 3,500 feet, which is pretty high, when I started this move. And I was like, I've got some time to sort this out. I can fix it. I can fix it. And I really didn't want to throw the reserve, which probably is the wrong mindset. But
People
I
get
worked at
hurt
it and
on
worked at it
reserve.
and tried to get it untwisted. And I'm like, it's getting worse, not better. And I don't know how many twists I got up to, but you might call it 7. And at one point it started rotating fast. And like now my wing's not flying, I'm kind of spiral down, nose down. So I was like, heck with this. You know, I'm throwing the beamer. So I take my right hand reserve and I take it and I did a good toss. I wish I had it on camera, but I've seen so many tosses, and I did once in a SIV course. Thanks, Gabe. And so I pulled it, got a grip on it, and tossed it out wide. And it got tangled in the risers.
In the
and I'm
wing.
like, oh boy, if I throw this other reserve, I'll have no more reserves. But it still seemed like a good idea. So I took my square, which was an Independence Ultra Cross, I think, something like that, Ultra Cross for sure. And I left-handed, you know, get it free, toss it far. And I didn't actually get a visual on what happened, but all of a sudden, boom, it pulled me. And then I knew that, well, then I didn't know. I had traded one problem for another. When I threw a reserve in training, I actually hit the water really hard. So I was nervous about how rough a ride it would be. And I saw myself coming to the ground, and you can only estimate it so well. And I was like, I think this is going to be all right. And as I got real close, I was like, I might even try to nail this, like stay on my feet. Well, that wasn't meant to be. I kind of hit feet and then cage, and then I found myself laying on my back on the prop.
Like a turtle.
And I'm like, that wasn't bad. That was okay. So one, I'm really glad I had 2 reserves. If you're gonna make questionable decisions, you gotta have 2 reserves. And 2, I guess I'm just glad I'm okay. Here are.
All right, I need like I need a translation.
Yeah.
Like
Beamer.
I got about a third
I
of
don't know,
that,
I don't think
maybe
it worked for
2/3
me.
if I'm
Maybe it
really
worked
generous.
after the other one did.
So what's
And then
okay?
also
Reserve is
the
clearly
top.
something when something goes
That
wrong.
was
But
the
why
one
is
that
one
got
reserve
me
better? Why
right
is 2
here.
better than 1? And why do you throw your reserve? What are you
Okay.
doing with that? What does that mean?
So paramotoring looks a little like parachuting, but you have a fan on your back, a prop. With that propulsion,
brilliant.
yeah, you can stay going, right?
Sure.
I'm doing this acro move that...
So what you're telling me is you have a parachute and a fan.
Yes, yeah. It's called a
Okay.
paraglider. It's different in that it's not meant to descend, it's meant to fly. But it looks like a parachute. And I have a prop on my back. And with that, I can fly all over the place and have a good time. I'm still a little, my paramotor incident is still like, it's not leaving the back of my head. A little.
Are your nerves tingling from it? I told you guys this on another PKA. Like when I watch climbing videos, the bottom of my feet tingle. Like I get like nervous activations on the bottom of my feet from climbing. So I'm kind of curious now. Like when you think about it, do you feel it?
No, not that, but it's like there's like a monumental kind of load on my mind, and it's weird in that I feel like I'm the only person on the planet going through this. Like a major thing just happened, and I'm sort of almost intentionally like minimizing it for Jackie and the kids. We don't talk about it at all. And, the rest of the community was like, I want to say it's stupid, but like I'm a known person in this tiny community, and they were all shocked. And now they've all moved on. They did. Heck, we move on from deaths in 2 days. People just like, there's no dead paramotor pilots. They're gone. They just kind of leave the scene, and then
Like Spartans.
Maybe like you're in the climbing community, Filthy. You might know people that died, and then they just kind of, they're not around anymore. All the people doing this are still alive. That's how deaths work. And
would it impact you at all? Think you'll change anything? Will you do something different? If you're in the same scenario you were in when that happened, was it last night? Yesterday?
Yeah, it was last night.
Jesus, would you do the same thing again yesterday, tomorrow?
It's the changes I'm talking about making might be minor to other people. It's like I think one of the big contributing factors is I moved to a more advanced wing, I did something I had been doing on a more safer wing. And I had taken that more advanced wing over the water where you learn new things for 2 days, which isn't a lot. And I was like, oh, it's going good. Let's try it on the motor over a farm. And that probably wasn't long enough. You know, I probably should have had 2 or 3 times more time over the water before I tried that fun stuff over the dirt. If I had had both bad reserves and just sort of spun and hit the water, I'd probably be okay. You know, as a matter of fact, I saw that last month. A guy spun into the water, and he was fine. He flew later that day. But over dirt, can change your life. So
that's a way to put it.
Well, it might change your life in that, like, you know, amputation, broken bones, paralysis.
Oh, yeah.
It might end it.
I thought it was a very like a bit of a euphemism. Change your life.
Yeah. There's a
get a college degree or hit the dirt real hard.
There's a guy I know. He tells this story a lot, so it's not a secret. But he did a kind of landing that's very dangerous. Things are more dangerous close to the ground. That might sound backwards to people who aren't in it, but yeah, there's no time to react. There's no time to fix it. And the kind of landing he did, he'd come shooting towards the ground, then turn sideways. One wingtip would hit the ground, and he kind of like skirted it and landed. So he did this all the time. It was kind of like, you know, this is how Chris lands. It's so badass. Like every landing was that. And he's in Utah. So Utah's ground is just even more prone to having little prickly grabby things than like North Carolina or Georgia or whatever. Like here our grass tends to be relatively consistent. Now, he was over grass, but little prickly things happen. And it grabbed a wingtip. And there are some accidents that look like a nightmare, but they're really not. You know, it happens in cars a lot too. They're like, oh, the more pieces that flew off, that's all energy dispersion. That can happen when a paramotor hits the ground sideways too. It's like, yeah, you know, props went flying, things went dangling, but the pilot was okay. And then there are other accidents that don't look like much like his, but are horrific. And he landed kind of seated and just popped. And he broke his back, right just above his hips. And they weren't sure he'd ever walk again. And he was like, well, you know, my new life is on wheels. You know, like we're gonna do everything we can in physical therapy, but they're not sure I'm walking again. And if you do stuff low to the ground enough, then you keep tempting that fate. He's fine. You know, he had like kind of a bad walk for a little bit, and then a couple weeks later, like his quads are firing. And now, I can't tell that he was ever injured. I saw him a couple weeks ago, but this stuff can be life changing. And I had an event that was almost life changing, and I'm like, what do I take from that? You know, some people would take never fly again. Some people would say fly conservatively. And, you know, maybe on the other end of the spectrum, it's like, why don't you just progress more conservatively? Maybe 2 days with that new wing isn't enough to declare yourself fit for it. So I'm processing where I am on that spectrum.
Take it to the limit. I think you need to get back up there.
Live this thing
faster, harder, stronger.
Yeah, I've got a spare motor. We're ready to go. You know, we'll fix the old one next week.
If you had more power, you could have brought yourself out of that spin.
If you'd had those jets on your ankles, those rockets. If you could have pulled the rocket boosters,
Iron Man action,
spin right out of it.
I think I was watching Alex Honnold on Joe Rogan, right?
Okay,
and
I saw,
and they were talking about, which is pretty fucking interesting as in of itself, but they were talking about wingsuiters and how like the whole community that founded that are all dead.
Yeah,
because at some point there is a limit to what you're doing and what you long term, what is actually sustainable.
So I don't know what the stats are on that, right? I know it's dangerous, but I have observed that almost every community points to the other one as the crazy people, right? I fly paramotors and paragliders, which is the same thing with no motor. And it's like, what? Us crazy? No, we are skilled and capable of handling these situations when they come up. It's those base jumpers over there. They're the crazy
Yeah.
people. And the base jumpers are like, me? No, it's the rock climbers. And the rock climbers say, no, it's the wingsuiters. And the wingsuiters are going to point to somebody else, NASCAR drivers or something. You're not crazy. What you're doing is just, the natural progression for a man of your skill and decision making.
Yeah. So does any of that like sink in with you at all?
Oh no. Yes,
No, okay.
it does.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I does it sink in with you? Do you climb rocks? Like do you just do indoor? Am I making this up?
I do indoor and outdoor.
There's risk.
You use a rope though.
I don't free solo. Yeah.
I have two
Yeah, you
reserves.
don't free solo.
I have 2 reserves. It's better than one rope.
Yeah,
Maybe.
no, it's not. No, it's not at all. The rope can hold your truck up. The
Can it?
reserve works apparently 10% of the time.
I don't know how reliable those ropes are. I'm not in that sport.
Crazy reliable. They don't break.
Is that true, Filthy? Filthy,
Yeah.
you told us a story where your rope was hooked up wrong.
Yeah, but that's not my rope failing. That's me failing.
Oh, okay. Well, provided that it's rationalized, it's not actually dangerous. I also made a
I didn't say
mistake.
it wasn't dangerous. I said this, and I still have no idea how I fucked that up, and that haunts me. Not like I wake up nightly thinking about it, but it has impacted my climbing to be aware of the fact that I was so close to death and not aware of it, or so close to permanent injury at least. So
Yeah. I would say that's parallel to where I am. I tried something tricky on a wing that was new to me, and I had a lot of like mitigating factors that make it safe, right? I was up super high. I had like 2 minutes to sort it out and throw a reserve and do my thing. And if my reserve didn't work, I had another one. That like literally like 1% of people fly with 2 reserves, but I'm in that extra cautious category. And I'm fine so far. So
Who's that guy who free soloed El Capitan?
that's Alex Honnold. Yeah,
It's
the guy we
Alex
were talking about.
That guy is bad fucking ass. I started watching his shit. First I watched his Rogan interview.
Yep, he's
Then I
very
watched-
interesting, Rogan.
Then I watched his TED Talk. Then I watched him climb El Capitan uncut.
Did you watch?
Then
his
I watched
movie?
him. Then I watched his movie. Then I watched him go to Patagonia and climb rocks that had never been climbed before. And he's like, I don't know, 400 feet up on this cliff face, and he's sitting there with the other guy, and they're kind of in a safe position. They're just like relaxing. He's like, I don't feel good. I think I'm going to shit my pants. He gets like food poisoning or something way the fuck up there and has to come down.
Wait, he
Like,
went down?
Yeah.
Well, he didn't down climb though, right?
That's an odd thing to go down. Usually you just finish the climb. Like get down is harder.
He had food poisoning. He was violently ill.
Yeah, no,
But
it's
down's
not-
harder.
because-
It's not about
exactly.
that.
Down's harder. Well, depends. I guess depends how far up he was.
It
Like, what
was
the proportion up compared to down.
that guy's really interesting. Like his diet, his van life. He
Did you
lives.
see
in a
any of the
van.
stuff where they actually looked at his brain, and he processes fear differently.
Oh,
Really?
that's cool.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, that was
interesting.
interesting.
I wonder.
Like he's in like a super small minority. If I'm remembering this correctly, he's in like a super small minority in terms of how his fear response impacts him, like in the brain level.
I bet that's learned. That's got to be learned because the
Probably.
coincidence that like one guy
Well,
who
you say
has this.
But it's very easy the other way could be true too, right? Like if he's like,
suppose.
if this shit doesn't scare him, then he's doing this shit, right? Like, so I don't know. I don't know which way it comes out either. It could very well be.
Yeah, he says it scares him, but I don't think it scares him the way it scares me.
No. No.
And I'm just watching TV.
Yeah, he's functional. If I'm in his scenario there, I'm not fucking functional.
Really?
Because I've been like
Yeah.
50 feet up a tree, like with a climbing deer stand, and been like pretty high up, and like it'll like lose its traction, and you'll like slide down, or you'll like lose your balance, and it's just I'm overwhelmed with adrenaline response. I have to take a minute.
Yeah, and
He doesn't seem to get that.
Well, he says specifically if you're experiencing a strong adrenaline response, you're in the bad shape because you're doing it wrong. It's not about that. Like the whole point
Yeah.
is like, yeah. So it's,
He has a neat way of describing his intensity level, right? Like
He's
the
a
speed
cool
climber
guy.
guys, they're zooming up 10, but in a safe environment. He's like, if I'm pushing it past a 4 or a 5 in free solo, then something's wrong. Like he he's just doing easy stuff for him the whole way. His body's interesting to me. Like if you were to just look at him not very carefully, you might see a guy that's like
Scrawny.
a computer programmer or something, you know, like not fat, but
with clothes on, he doesn't look impressive.
But if
When
you
he
look a
takes his
little
clothes
closer,
All the
tell me
fucking
about
back
it.
muscles, all the like, yeah,
I actually
yeah.
have
He's a
back.
climber. He's got a climber physique.
It's his back.
His
Yeah. His
forearms
back.
and his hands.
You never watch women women climbers. So like my wife's a climber, right? And
Uh-huh.
like I see that too. Like when she's really active in climbing, the muscles that appear there are like totally. It's a climbing pattern. It's a very different kind of physicality. It's not a big bulky physicality. It just isn't. So
Yeah, I didn't see his back. Now I want to, but his hands and his forearms just they get work done. They're pretty interesting to me.
His back looks like I don't know. He looks like Spider-Man to me. Like that's what I would think Spider-Man would look like. Some of the holds he does.
oh
like
my
those-
god, finger strength is insane. What professional
strength
climbers
is-
can hang off of.
When he's fucking just grabbing nothing, essentially. It's really impressive, and I would be so afraid. I would be so afraid. I can't. If you just like snapped your fingers and threw me on that mountainside, I would just freeze until I lost enough strength to hold on, and then I would die. He's so high up. He's I don't know 8, 9, 1,000 feet up, and he's just on nothing. He climbs this crack where he's just like wedging his palm in and then sort of flexing so the muscles like here expand, and it's like, oh yeah, that's grip. And he does it again and again and again, and his feet are doing this, and he's just going up a goddamn crack.
I
Oh
love
my
climbing.
fucking god!
But I love climbing on a fucking rope. I hate lead climbing.
Yeah,
Like I do lead climb, but I'm like, okay, but this is so clear to me how, I mean, this is always something that's been interesting to me as I've gotten older, right? As I know my mind better, I realize that most of the things I do to make myself a better person are about cheating my mind, not going with my mind. As a kid, I thought as I got older, I'd get better. And in reality, as an adult, what I actually learned as I became more of an adult, what I learned is my limitations and how to bypass them or cheat them, right? Like if I want to run, if I want to work out, I don't decide that like I'm going to just have the motivation to work out. I set routines and patterns to make it so I can work out efficiently, right? This is how I do that. I never got to the point where my motivation got better. I just learned that my motivation was finite. Like it's the same thing for for like climbing. Like as I lead climbing is where he's free soloing, no rope at all. Lead climbing is you're climbing up above your rope.
Mhm.
And then top roping is your rope is above you. And there isn't much of a difference between lead climbing and top roping. There is, but there isn't, right? The difference is a bit more of a fall. It's a little bit more dangerous, but mostly it's not that different in most scenarios. My performance is massively different between lead climbing and top roping because internally my brain doesn't fucking get it, right? Like it's just a limitation for me on that, right? Probably I could train out of it if I do it enough or whatever, or find a way to do it. But realistically, what I know is I'm a much better climber when I'm on top rope than I am when I'm lead climbing. Just how it is for me.
I'm
like
full of confidence now. I don't know if it's warranted, right? Which is a weird thing to say for a guy full of confidence. But I'm like, I was just tested last night. You know, I was all business all the way down until I, got it sorted.
What's your
out.
grade? Give me like a 1 to 100. Like, what's your grade? So you survived. That's absolutely phenomenal. I'm glad you're here with us, Woody. But what's your grade on that? What would you give yourself? How do you rate yourself?
It start? This is
I think it's an A. Like he went through like 3 different hardships and he came out on top. Like he did everything in the order he was supposed to do it as efficiently as he probably could have done it. He's got.
Although it was a self-generated issue, though, right?
Right. That's why. So what's the grade? If the grade starts at we have a problem, then really high, like almost 100. Like I do the first reserve that went into the wing. I wonder. So you're supposed to throw it down, right? But because I'm sideways spinning around, like imagine a bucket of water as you twirl it around.
Yeah.
Sideways. Down wasn't down. Down was sideways, right? Could I have thrown it to my side, which would be down? I don't even know. I don't know if it's possible to throw it better than I did because sometimes that happens to perfect throws. But maybe it was.
One hit?
Why didn't the second one hit?
Why did the second one go where you needed it to go, but not the first one?
Was it the other side? Right? Was it my downside that I threw? And that's why
it worked out blind luck then?
Well, I'm going to do both sides.
Aren't you spinning?
Yeah. So I do my right and my left, right? The reserves are on
I'm
different
super
sides.
bad at spatial manipulation, so I don't know. Like, it seems to me if you're spinning, if you're left and you're right, aren't they exactly identical depending on the time frame?
Well, you're spinning. Remember the bucket of water where we're holding it
Yeah.
sideways, and the bottom of the bucket is actually pointed sideways. So one, if you don't do anything, you sort of throw it up, and the other, if you don't do anything, you sort of throw it down. Now I threw them both sort of down in a way, which is what you're supposed to do. But could I have gone downer on the first one, being aware that it's hard to go down when it's your high side? But I did pretty well post accident. I think I almost flawless. Getting into the accident was where the decisions went wrong. Like, usually in aviation, it's a cascade of problems. You know, first I decided to fly in bad weather, then I ignored this caution sign, and it's like, if you stop that cascade anywhere along the way, you're okay. So first I chose an advanced wing, and then I chose a maneuver that I'm still getting my arms around.
And chose to do it over land.
Yeah, right. The other two that would have been okay if I was in an SIV environment, but like over water with a chase boat. But then I chose to do it over land, which maybe is at the beginning, and then the cascade sort of stopped. You know, when I'm in trouble, I tried to sort out the wing for a while. That's not a decision that I would revisit. I like that. You know I knew my altitude. I intentionally started at a very high altitude so I'd have time to sort things out if something went wrong. So that was like a mitigating factor. And then I used that altitude to try to sort out the wing. Almost fixed it. I've like 6 of the 7 twists, we'll say, I got out. And then I made a decision that it was reserved time. And it was. And not only was it reserved time, but it was like reserved time in time for 2 reserves. You know, I didn't wait till the last 100 feet. I was like 900 feet. And I'm like, all right, I've spent 2,000 feet trying to fix this. Time to switch plans. You know, if I wait any longer, then I'll have fewer options. And I threw that reserve, it didn't work, but I had enough time to throw the next reserve, and that did work. So post problem, almost perfect. Pre-problem,
There's no confidence in that.
Pre-problem,
that's a crisis scenario, right? That's a crisis situation you just came out of, having survived it and done it in part because of following the training and things you need to do for that. There's some confidence inspiring in there.
Yeah. And I think part of the post problem, you know, is because I've seen enough videos on it and I've done some real life. I've thrown a reserve in a test environment before. And so there's some training and some study that contributed to the post problem. Getting into the problem in the first place, well, there's some, technique and judgment problems to be there at all. And that's where like the mental spinning is happening, you know, like how reserved do these judgments do? A lot of people who met me in Call of Duty may think of me as like, you know, some lame dad, but that's not who I think I am, right? I think of a guy who started surfing hurricanes at 12 years old, taking jet skis out in the dark in the inlets, a guy whose, you know, favorite thing was rescuing people as they're drowning in bad surf. I think of myself as, you know, off-roading through the mountains, and like I've been playing this thing like a throwaway account since I was a baby. But you know, a lot of people don't see that. They just see like Woody started something dangerous that's new. It's like, nah. Like, you think this is my first cheat death? You know, it's not. So, I don't know. I'm processing. Like, I think I got too close.
So yeah, Filthy. By this time next year, you'll probably be a full-time member of the show. We don't have medical, just so you know.
But according to Wings, I could be a billionaire by now, I think.
Yeah.
Case, right?
That's only if you get the money that Taylor gets that he stole from Wings.
Yeah, I assumed Taylor was dead at this point.
He texted us. Taylor texted a couple hours ago. You know, I think that the medical emergency is okay, non-life threatening, but he's going to be taking care of the family member who was affected for the rest of the night. Essentially,
I was making a joke.
Yeah. Oh, I know you were. I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Just quick little break before we do this one, Woody, because it's just prompted a topic for me, just out of curiosity. Have you ever done skydiving?
One time I did it like Baby Bjorn style, where we did the tandem jump.
All right, because I'm going skydiving for the first time a little bit later this year, and I was kind of curious what you had to say.
So when I did it, there were options. You could take like, I don't know, an 8 or 11 hour course, and your first jump would be solo. or
Yeah,
you
I would
could do
do
it
tandem.
Baby Bjorn style. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that was fun because like you walk up there, you pay, and like 6 minutes later, you're on a plane headed up. There's no training,
Yeah.
no briefing, no nothing. On the plane, they teach you how to jump out of the plane.
Do they let you jump? Because that's what I really want. I want to be at that precipice of standing on the edge of the plane, looking down, having no fucking training with this, and going, I get to jump here. And then just like fighting the like brain element of that with like the, because the animal part of you is going to be fucking terrified. I want to be in that moment to like be there for that.
You'll get that. You'll get that. Yeah,
okay.
you actually sit on the plane with your feet dangling at like 170 miles an hour, and then you do a forward somersault.
Oh,
and
cool.
yeah, and I think the guy does not push you. I'm sure there's different cultures, but where I went, like if you bitch out, then you bitch out. Like he's not there to push you unwillingly out of the plane. You have to initiate it. And then if you
like,
do,
I like that idea, but I
like
hate the idea that what might end up motivating me is like, I paid X $100 for this. I'm going to friggin' jump when I'm up here. I want this to be like part of that to be like, shit, this is the brain fighting me right now and being like, this is rational. I can do this. I have a friggin' parachute. There's a trained professional over here. Like I want that moment. So I'm
ask him how many jumps he's had, because it's usually an obscene number, like 7,000 or 11,000.
If he says 3,
he's
maybe
like, wait,
you should.
I thought you were the instructor. And then
that'd be funny. I like that.
They call me Bob.
So yeah, like he's giving me hand signals during the jump that I did like this. That could mean a lot of things. Right? Like, I don't know what that...
Why die, I think.
Yeah.
There's a problem if you're doing this.
Yeah,
There's no parachute. Not going to happen.
It means I'm about to pull the chute based on, like, context clues. But, yeah, like, he's given me signs and stuff. I don't know what they mean. We haven't done any training. He taught me how to land at about 300 feet. Like, we were just about to hit the ground. And he's like, all right, I need you to do this and this. But everything went fine. We almost hit a sign. There's the airport has these signs that sort of, mark the runways and taxiways and stuff. And we landed like, I don't know, say 7 feet from it. And part of me is like, well, maybe this guy's like really precise and he landed exactly where he meant to. And the other instructor was like, dude, like, and I'm like, man, I think maybe he cut it a little close. Like if the other instructor was alarmed at how we almost hit the sign, then maybe I should be.
Yeah, I feel like this is very dangerous things that I'm doing for recreation. It's on some level, if I'm with experts, it's better almost not to know some of the things, like I need to know like enough that as a novice, I don't fuck it up for them. But I don't really want to know, like, I'm not going to look up before going, like the chance that I'll die doing it. Like, I don't want to know the percentage of
it's
jumpers
so
that
low.
fail.
It's so
I don't want to
low.
know. Not helpful. I'm gonna do it.
I would guess that certainly over a lifetime, you're much more likely to die in a car accident, right? I
bet there's like a 2% chance you die, so you'll make it.
No,
just don't do it 50
so large.
times. If you do it 50 times, I'm concerned, but just once.
You're all right.
Remember
when we were doing the first survival trip, and Joe Lozon asked Wings like, "All right, what do you think the chances you die on this trip are?"
I do remember that.
He's like 30%. So you're saying you do this trip 3 times, you die one of them? Yeah. I think if I do this 3 times, I would definitely die on one of them. And we're just like pulling our hair out. Like I don't think you know how probability works.
2.5 miles from the car, Wings. Or 5.
We're
I don't know what it was. It's
maybe that. Like I doubt it was 5. Like we walked for a good 20 minutes with packs. Like whatever. Like it's not like I was in like run across America Forrest Gump shape, and I wasn't breathing heavy. Like we got there as normal human being mans.
The river crossing was hard, man.
I don't talk about the river crossing because I love you.
I struggled with that. I don't know.
Wings would have been like if Wings had been there, nobody would have given you shit about your river crossing. Because there all of a sudden there'd been like when you're fishing and you've got the float. He'd have been that float. Just we lost it. He'd have been gone.
I used to go hiking a bunch, and I always liked having that one guy who was, carrying 25, 30 pounds that he didn't need to, like body fat I'm talking about. And just like, all right, I never have to ask to stop. All I need to do is outlast Ed over there. And
Yeah.
and
It's nice not to be the weakest link.
Mhm.
And
Yeah, you get to the top of the hill, you stop to let him catch up, not because you're out of breath, not because
Oh,
you need a moment.
me
You
out of
got
breath.
It's respectful.
It's for
Yeah.
Ed over here.
it's
And
for
by the time he
Ed.
gets there, you're not out of breath anymore, and you don't even look out of
No
breath.
one had to know.
That's
Now you're
right.
looking at your watch like, come on, Ed.
Yeah,
What's going on over there?
Poor Ed. He's a real person too.
Oh, god damn it. Why don't we use his real name?
I don't even talk. I haven't talked to him in a decade, but
I
nice guy.
love that though. He thought he was gonna die. He thought he was gonna die out there.
Oh,
I was talking to my dad just like 2 or 3 days ago. They came out here and on Saturday, my mom and my dad, and we watched the UFC event. And I made dinner. I made my fancy duck fat apple coring French fries and made some filet mignons. And we had a good old time. We watched the UFC event, like I said, and I was telling him the whole story of like both of our survival trips. We had a good old time.